the greatest book of Tibetan commentaries on the steps on the path by Tsongkhapa is actually based on the Ten Ring Channel.
Oh, cool.
So there was a writing, or there's some evidence that Tsongkhapa had access to this book about 7 years before he wrote the Lam Ring Chemo. So he expounded on Geshe Drolungpa commentary on the great book on the steps of the teachings. Yeah.
Ten is past then. I mean teaching, sorry. Ten is teaching.
Yeah, it's teaching as opposed to Lam, which is path. Yeah. Cool.
Same question.
Okay. So it's interesting. Someone had already. I mean, of course, a teacher had done it already, but that's the basis of the details that I'll just cover with you about the craving spirit realm. So they're called yidak or pretas in Sanskrit, and they're characterized by desires tormenting them all the time, and they are never satisfied. So this is a state of being that you are in constant torment, teasing, if you like, a promise of getting something, and however close you get to it, you're never satisfied. In this scripture, they say that there's 4 courses. There's one general course, that if you do any of these things in the general causation for perceiving, obviously, yourself as a preta, perceiving yourself existing in this way, there's one general course and 3 specific courses. The general course is doing any of the 10 misdeeds in a medium way, in a medium strength, right? So continuously doing any of the 10 misdeeds with medium strength. What does that mean, right?
Are you even doing it once? Or you could
No, it's like building the habit, right? Well, even if you do it once, you have the seed for it, right?
Then you make a habit.
If you make a habit, you get more of those seeds. In the transition between what we call life and death, which is just a perceptual shift, your mind continues.
Yeah.
Any one of your seeds can become the Nirlingi cure, the one that projects your whole life. So yeah, you do it once, if you draw the lottery and you get that one, right? That's nice, right? No. So that creating a habit and creating a state of being that maintains you in a zone of being, you're more likely to continue as a certain kind of being, right? So if at the moment of death, or you've become a certain kind of being, we'll cover them now, then at the moment where that perception shifts from I'm a human to I'm a dead human to this is my perception now of what I am. You might not call yourself a preta, but this is your reality and your experience, right? You want to ask? No. So the one general course is doing any of the 10 misdeeds in a medium strength. So what do you think that means? It's somewhere between...
Heavy strength is premeditated.
Yeah, and no strength or lack of strength is...
Like an accident?
Yeah, accidentally or carelessly or ignorantly, right?
Not lacking intention.
Yeah, lacking the intention. Great. So you just did it by mistake. Now, do you still have karma when you do something without heavy intention?
Yes.
Right. So that's why there's still a karma, it's just low strength. Medium strength is you sort of half-assed did it, not full intention. Yeah? Somewhere in between,
Or like
enjoying, thinking that you're going to shoot him in the head, looking for the right bullet whilst thinking you're going to shoot him in the head, loading it with full intention of hatred. That's like full-on strength.
That's
yeah?
like sniper strength.
Exactly. So that's what that means. So what are the 10 misdeeds, if we remember them?
I'm gonna
Wait, that was heavy strength, you were saying? What you just described?
Yeah. It's premeditated, full intention.
Heavy
behind your
strength
actions.
intention? Is that what you're talking about? Heavy strength. What?
How do you complete a karma?
You have to actually do it though. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
saying. But
Yeah.
does he actually do it?
Yeah,
Actually
I
kills the
just
person.
stopped halfway through the
Okay.
explanation.
What if he didn't do it?
Then he'd still have part of that
It'd
karma.
be medium strength,
Yeah, it could be medium.
right?
Yeah. If he didn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good. Good call.
Depends on what you thought afterwards. I just made a comparison with like killing someone in the American law. There's like premeditating, that's like first degree.
Mhm.
Right.
The second degree manslaughter or by collusion, I don't know.
Oh, I see.
And then, but like where you're in like an emotional state and you do something in an emotional state,
Right.
it's not premeditated. And then there's like doing it by
Insanity.
accident, like, or if you just did it by, like you hit a pedestrian and they died, you're in way more trouble than if they didn't die, even if it was an accident.
Yeah, exactly.
You still-
Yeah, nice. That's a really nice way to think about those. So what are the 10 instincts? 3 of mind, 4 of mind, 3 of body, 3 of speech.
Killing, stealing,
Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct are acts we do with our mind, the body.
Body.
Yeah. So doing these with a half-ass intention, yeah, is medium strength. What's the speech?
harsh words,
Harsh words,
idle talk,
idle talk, lying,
lying,
Divisive talk.
divisive talk. What's the mind?
Wrong view.
coveting,
Coveting,
ill will,
ill will, wrong view.
wrong.
Yeah.
Can't think of like anything else but a rapper when you say ill will. It just sounds like a rapper's name.
So that's the general. So imagine doing these things, having the state of mind where you've normalized and said that's acceptable. Yeah, doing any of these things with medium strength. That's general course. The other courses, the more specific courses, are failing to do any of the 3 types of giving. Do you remember what the 3 types of giving are? We I think did it once in ACI. There's 3 kinds of things you can give and they go in any level of
Food and
importance.
shelter.
So the first one is giving food and shelter. Congratulations.
Dharma is one.
Material things is the first one, right? Which is the most base, but anything that's necessary for life. And here is like with medium strength, if you like, you know, or just seeing yourself not giving somebody something they absolutely need to live. Yeah? So failing to do any of that kind of giving, or protection from harm, which is the other one, and then finally it's dharma. Yeah, meaning, realizations, things that can help. The reason it's high is it can help for future lives beyond this life. Right? So failing to give any of the 3 types of giving, failing meaning it's required, it's in front of you, it's needed, and you are thinking, I don't want to. This kind of mental quality that we all have, that becomes the cause for being born as a hungry ghost. The third type, which is the second of the specific types, is this kind of stinginess, which is similar to not doing the giving. It's because you misapprehend where things come from. You think the only way to keep them is to hold on to them. That misapprehension of hoarding, not wanting to see your possessions get less, that stinginess is the other cause that developed. And if we're not thinking that we're stuffing our beings into a preta body, if you're thinking that it is a perceptual event where you're forced to experience the things around you like a preta does, and I'll cover that later. But in essence, it's this constant dissatisfaction that nothing will. Things appear as they could, with a promise that they would. You have a desperation for them, a wanting, a desire, a deep desire for them. Yeah, but they are never fulfilling. Yeah, much worse than they are now.
So I have a question. So also, what characterizes this realm is the inability of this being to change their perception of what is happening.
Well, that's true for the human realm as well. I mean, you know, like we are the large majority of beings in the human realm don't think they can change their perceptions of what's happening. If you look at it from the point of being stuck in samsara, or being stuck as a human, we think we're human. You know, I can tell you, you could be this and you could be that, but you're human. Yeah. So from that point of view, I think it's the same. Yeah. But the characteristic here is that I'll cover them when I'll give you the 3 types of prejudice, maybe. Yeah, we'll see if that answers your question. And the last one is jealousy, or wishing others don't have, which is the opposite of bodhicitta, right? Like as practitioners, if you understand where things come from, you want to give everything to everyone, causing omniscience in your Buddha paradise, right? The capacity, the habit, the mental habit of giving of everything, genuinely, uncontritely. The opposite of that is this jealousy, this when you see somebody getting what they want, or when you see someone getting close to happiness, there's a part of you that constricts and wishes they didn't, or wish it was yours. Yeah? So those, if we're talking about the world coming from you onto blackness, and you have only these seeds of stinginess, or holding on, whatever, and you can imagine, I'll cover the 4 laws of karma again, that duplicating and getting bigger and bigger. It's conceivable then that Preta realms aren't just imaginary ghost stories, but a true and real forced perception of being, if that's what's projected through your data projector, right? So the big question is, how does this happen? So it's not voodoo. What's the mechanism? And I thought I would share with you a couple of things. So, talk basic karma. Can a good result come from a bad cause?
No.
No? Can a banana tree come out of an apple seed?
No.
No. We know that for physical matter, right? And then the big deal from the Buddhist point of view is that that's also true of your conceptual reality. So then the question becomes, how does it appear to us in everyday life? I lied to my boss and I still got the raise. I didn't tell. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, we have a misperception.
In our reality, it appears different whether you want to be nice Buddhists or not. Okay? It appears that if I cheat, I've got away with something. I've got something good, even though you know in the back of your head you got away with something. Buddhism says that thing don't go away.
Right.
That thing keeps growing. And there's something that knows in us we got away with, we broke a system. Yeah? We believe that. So I looked for today, because I didn't have much time to prepare since yesterday, I thought I'd look for something to share with you that gives the impression of this experience we have. And it's a report on, remember I used the metaphor of the soundtrack being separate to the visual? So the karmic result being the soundtrack is somehow delayed, so you get the visual, yeah? And all the planting is here and we're misconceiving, yeah? So check this out for research.
This can be hard to understand.
Time is pressing. Move her to the laboratory at once.
The lips move, the sound comes later. They are out of sync.
It must be, understand? Yes, never see her again. I give you my word, believe me.
Vanderbilt researchers say that's what happens to children with autism. Sight and sound are separated.
We're very excited about it. I think this is truly transformative in many ways.
So what's going to happen is you're going to see a woman.
In their study, published in the Journal of Neuroscience, researchers compared typically developing children with high-functioning children with autism. The children, 6 to 18, worked through tasks from simple flashes and beeps to more complex stimuli, like a hammer hitting a nail. Their job, to push buttons identifying if the sight and sound happened at the same time.
There is a window of time within which if a sight and a sound happens, the brain is very smart, and what it says is, those two things happen so close together in time that they must belong together. So the brain knits that information together. What we believe is that in children with autism, that window of time is longer. So now what happens is their perceptual world is very confusing because they don't know which pieces of the visual world should be bound with which pieces of the auditory world.
The processing difficulty cascades into more problems, but Wallace says the brain can be retrained.
The brain is an enormously plastic machine. The hopeful message from this is that if we can intervene and change sensory function early, some of these more profound deficits that we see in areas like language and in areas like social interactions may actually be improved by that early intervention.
The next step is to develop more effective treatments to help children with autism
Knowing that I can't trust you.
combine what they see with what they hear. In Nashville, Bart Kramer reporting.
I think as humans, we are autistic in terms of how karma works, because we are planting seeds all the time. We are experiencing the results in relation to actions we're doing now. We think the results come from the actions we're doing now, make that connection in our heads, and then try all sorts of strategies to repeat that thing that never gets repeated. Yeah, and if it does, it's 80% of the time, 30% of the time, 50%. We have zero certainty that the actions we're doing truly cause the things. And that's scary to admit. But I think in the human realm, we have a level of autism of all realms of as humans, because we cheat and we get a good result. Sometimes we cheat, we get a bad result. And as simple as that sounds, it's profound in the way we behave and understand what our inner world is versus what our outer world appears. And it requires a great degree of focus and concentration, hence the practice of meditation, to be able to understand logically and with certainty where your world is coming from. And when you connect that with all the karmas we're planting day after day because of that misconception, all of a sudden, not just the Preta realm, but every other realm becomes a possibility, because those seeds will go through the basic laws of karma. So karma is the movement of the mind projecting a reality. What's the 4 laws? Do you remember?
All karma expands.
That's one of them. First one was Nendepa. Like produces like, right? So you can't have good from bad from good. You could have bananas from bananas. So the result is fixed. It's like the cause.
And if you don't do it, you won't get the result.
Then karma expands. A tiny impulse becomes a large one, and then it's that one. If you committed it, you must. If you've planted it and it's fertile, you must get a result.
And the opposite.
And the opposite is true. If you're not having a result, it means you didn't commit it. Yeah, you can't get a result from something that wasn't caused. So if that's true, and you think about our perceptual world, then every tiny perception we're having all the time of disliking and liking ignorantly, the core of the wheel of life, then all these realms and so many permutations within those are completely possible as a full reality. It's just like this video is trying to highlight about the disconnect between the visual and the audio. And this is, so imagine being in that state where someone is telling you your world that you don't understand functions this way, and because of something that's forcing you to see that disconnect, you don't get it. Yeah? And that's what I feel Geshe Mindful's saying to us in all sorts of forms. And every other master from the past going, you guys, I don't know how else to tell you, but you don't get it. There's a disconnect between what you're experiencing and what you're acting. So, yeah.
Why does karma work like that?
What do you mean?
Why does karma work like that?
How do you mean?
Why is that the laws? Why is that the law? Why are those the laws?
So if you look at it, let's look at it from observing nature. Yeah. Let's look at a tree. Yeah. Can you get water from a tree seed?
Yeah.
You can get water, just a water sprouting out. You can produce water from tree seeds.
No.
No. So like equals like. So there's a solid nature, there's a woody nature to plant seeds, and they produce plants. And so like equals like. There's a cellular nature to sperm and egg, and they produce cells. So that's obvious for us. We observe this in the regular physical world. What Buddhism is saying, what the Buddha said was that if goes deeper than that. It's that process of light producing light that is not just for the physical world, it's also for the inner world, for the mental world, for the world that's not matter. And then you say, is it true that a tiny, tiny seed produces a massive tree? That two almost inconceivably small human cells produce this body with billions of moving cells that we have now? Is it true that the original cause of the physicality we have now, which is tiny and imperceivable, produces a massive result in comparison to its cause? And in the world of nature, that's true. And so the Buddha said it's also true for mind. It's also true for the realm beyond the physical. And then the last two, can you get anything but an apple tree from an apple seed? If you have a seed and it's working and fertilizing, will you have an apple tree? And then the fourth one is, if you've never put anything under the ground, can you expect an apple tree to rise from nothing? And the answer is no. So the Buddha, in his experience of the direct perception of all, said in the physical realm, that's the law. That's the way we are experiencing this world. That is also true for our inner world. And then he called them the falls.
What is the thing in the second law of karma that actually feeds that?
That
how can you
perpetuates,
get-
that doubles it.
I mean, how can you get two seeds? I accept it.
No,
in other ways,
no, it's
but
a
like
good
now that I'm
question.
thinking about it, if there's that spot, what is it called, like the drop, inside of it.
Indestructible drop.
Yeah, what's making one seed turn into two and then causing it to, where are those coming from?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, isn't that the same thing as like a seed produces a tree, which produces a certain number of
But-
fruits, which each have.
yeah, but in the physical world, those things are happening in conjunction with a complete unity with the material of nature. So, like, I can accept that a tree would grow from a seed. That's fine. And I can accept it also karmically from an inductive reasoning.
Mhm.
Know that it makes total sense. But if I were to compare the material process or relative parallel material process, no, I don't understand. Because a tree in a material world, the seed is growing and it's pulling water from here and it's pulling energy
Nutrients from
here
there and the sun.
and
Yeah.
whatever, and so the tree that's there is actually all the things of the planet,
Mhm.
but is a single karmic seed also all the other karmic seeds that are all the other drops inside the indestructible drop that allows it to exponentially grow.
Wait, can you say the last part again?
So on a planet Earth, we have a tree that is starting as seed,
Yeah.
and then the seed, as it's growing into the tree, is pulling nutrients and energy from other places in the world. So the tree that grows is actually made up of everything that's ever been. Lincoln's divided body that's like a speck of
Right,
atom, whatever.
and everything that's ever been is
Yeah.
made up of everything that's ever been.
Maybe it's the synchronicity of multiple karmas all working in tandem.
I
So
actually
you
think
you
that
don't you don't.
I'm just thinking like because they really are multiplying, like in the sense that they're there when we die to project an entire another world. Like there's more there than what we planted. Because if we have one, it's
Stop.
65 per second,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
So in 1/65th of a second, that's one seed. So even accumulating them as a sum, meaning if we just simply add up all of them per second, they do multiply, and then there's that many more. What material essence or immaterial essence is that that's allowing them to add in the way that a tree is pulling from all the material essence of the world. Do you understand my question?
I think so. Anyone want to add?
Well, in terms of what I said about synchronicity, what if, there's big karmas also that are integrating. So a karma outside of our understanding could be involved in it. So if you're just looking at a tree and looking at it from your perception, then you can see all the things that we understand from a reductionist model that are integrated.
Yeah.
But maybe there's karmas beyond that we just can't see.
But is there a total number of karmas that are like moving
Numbers?
around? No, like, but like a total number of conceivable karmas. If it's based on your perception, then there's this total number, and it's kind of moving around between like beings.
So, my question for that is how big is your perception?
I don't know yet.
Or do you want to
No,
finish?
no, I'm curious. I'm still thinking
I mean,
about
I just asked that question because like it functions in that way, and a lot of things that we do function in a certain way, but that's just our karma to experience it. So is it just our karma to experience karma functioning in this way?
That's what we are having as an experience.
Right, so does that mean those are actually the laws of karma?
That is the actual laws of karma from
For
our
us.
experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they are also empty.
They are absolutely empty, but they function. They are empty of being that way from their own side.
It's how we see them.
That's how we're forced to see
Forced
them.
to see that. Right.
And that's the only thing we have to use to stop seeing them that way.
Okay.
It's a story.
I mean, do you ever thought about
What duplicates them?
I mean, each one is indestructible. Each karmic seed is, right? I mean, that's what they say, right? That you can't like obliterate a karmic seed. You can only scorch it, but it never goes away.
No, it does go away. When does it go away?
No, but you can like turn it off. Oh, when it ripens.
Exactly.
But can't you purify too?
You can purify
Yeah,
and that
but-
just scorches it. You still have seeds, they're just dormant.
And then when they go off, it goes off less, like a headache rather than like that.
Yeah. Well, not at all. They're covered, and at some point, you don't even see them as a seed. You could have the karmic experience of. We can talk about that part
Okay.
another
Sorry.
time. But no. But it's a good thing to consider. And when you look at it as like you described through the tree has, what did you call it? You said other synchronicities. You said. We have as humans, we're forced to see the continuum of time. Yeah, we are in this whole realm. We have this ebb and flow of things coming to be and destroyed and be and destroyed and be and destroyed. This kind of cyclical experience, and we see things gathering and produce a result and going. And that's just the mode that we're forced.
Actually, yeah. I guess those are the karmic seeds. Like the things that are collecting in the tree. Our only experience is what we're seeing through our physical senses for the most part, or even if we just examine that, those things happening are the result of our karma gathering. Like the tree gathering is the karmic result, so that's the seed multiplying.
We have
We're just projecting it.
Yeah, and so the result is produced by a principal cause, and then you have conditions, right?
And the
Which are also
collection
the
also
collections.
causes
Yeah, are all
Those
cause.
are karmic seed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it doesn't answer why they multiply.
It just
So
it
every
answers
day-
how it's possible.
Yeah.
How it's
sure.
possible to see that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why is I don't know. That's a different question.
It's a different question. I'm going to quickly go through. So there's a couple of things I want you to know that were in this book around Preta realms or Praeting spirits. And I found this interesting. One Preta day. So time in lesser realms than human realms goes slower than human realm. So one day in the human realm would be 1 month in the human realm would be equal to one Preta day. So 1 day of Preta, one cycling of being in a day in the Preta realm would be equal to 1 human month. And they say they have a maximum lifespan of 500 Preta days. Yeah. Is a maximum lifespan. So I thought that was interesting. So it's, what is it? 1 times 30 times 500. Yeah. Is a Preta lifetime.
1500.
Months. Yeah. Something like that. Basic types of pretas. One is with outside obstacles. And let's see if I got this right. So this might answer your question about what other qualities they might have. Okay. So the outside obstacles are, they see in the distance something beautiful and
They can't
magnificent,
get to it.
and when they get to it, it turns to revolting and disgusting, or they
Right,
can never
it's
get
like
to it.
tantalus.
So it's like, yeah. And the other one is inside obstacles. If they ever do,
Tiny mouth.
they have a tiny, tiny mouth, a huge, huge stomach, which symbolizes they can never get enough substance through to fulfill the need for their. So again, you can see how the karma of stinginess and not wanting to share and wanting to protect your stuff can become a result like that of experience. And lastly is obstacles to food or drink, and that is when things, if things ever do enter your mouth, there's like a fire in your mouth which consumes anything that you could have. Let's see if there's more stuff in that that I would share. I want to say, the animal realm I don't have to go through in detail. Well, the one place of where they live, it was interesting, there was a discussion about where the predators lived. There's two main places. Do you know what they were? Do you remember?
Above or below the earth, or?
Yeah, there's one below the earth.
And they
Yeah.
might be like next to us.
Yeah, and then there's another set of beings that says every now and then we might even bump into some of them, and they're
Like
among
a
us,
parallel
sharing
Earth.
parallel to us.
Would below the earth meaning below Earth's surface?
They said it's below us. Yeah. So I don't know if it means below us in the mandala or geography that they're talking about, or within the earth. I'm not sure. Yeah. And they said they could be any size. The animal realm, they're interesting because this is the difference I keep mentioning between.
Can I get 3 basic types of predators? You want to click on that?
External obstacles, internal obstacles, and obstacles with food and with drink.
Okay, thanks.
Can they have all 3 at the same time?
It's like saying that you have Africans and you have South Americans and you have
Right.
Chinese. You know, so I don't know if you can. I know that they draw them in 3 separate sections. Actually, there's 36 different subdivisions, and this is 3 groupings of those 36 subdivisions. So you could have like, you know, Mexicans and Italians and
Mexican Italians.
yeah, Mexican
No,
Italians.
mixed, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those are Mexicans.
Mexicans. But I don't know if, I actually don't know the answer from the Abhidharma. Yeah. And so with animals, it's funny, you know, we think they're pretty happy, free. They describe them in the Abhidharma Kosha as these creatures that are continuously terrified of being eaten and jittery and jumpy and not at all at peace like we think. Oh, they're one with nature and they're swimming through the beautiful oceans and whatever. Everyone's scared of being food for something else. And then they subcategorize that to some animals who have it worse than having to be scared of being eaten, these animals that have been captured and are enslaved to humans. And then they go through a whole series of descriptions of what it would be like to truly be perceiving your world through an animal realm, through the perception of an animal, where you're unable to remove yourself from seeing the world like you see it, being eaten, being the subdivision with humans is of being used for skin, being used for meat, being used to drag around stuff. And so it's not good enough that you have the impulse and the instincts that limit your perception of being to an animal nature, an impulsive animal nature. It's where still you're then enslaved and chopped up and etc. by humans. And they have the 3 courses. The general course is misdeeds in a lesser strength, so with some kind of stupidity or ignorance or not paying attention, but you're still hurting people around you and still lying to people, but you're not. You have like a dull sense of committing these deeds. And then they say consistently breaking minor rules. And there's always a problem when I go here for myself, because I think, oh, don't What are the rules? Are they self-existent, etc., etc.? But what this means is, if you know that you have a moral code, whatever level of understanding you have about your moral code, you observing yourself, consciously ignoring them, dumbing them down, breaking those moral codes, like being kind to somebody or offering food to somebody or etc., and you're continuously seeing yourself doing that. And then disrespecting others is the other one that also dulls that relationship between beings, and therefore forces the perception of being ultimately disrespected.
What do they say about pets?
Yeah, interesting. It's funny because I was thinking about that, but they didn't say that I remember anything about pets. They just said that humans drag animals and use them for terrible things. But when you were talking about, the Mexican Italians, and you look at all the realms, I have seen humans that live worse than your cat. I have seen humans that are not. They have a sensory perception of understanding language, etc., but their minds cannot have an experience of this world of any kind of valuable joy, or so they're tortured. And then I've seen animals who are so pampered and looked after, but they're still forced to see the world as animals.
Right, I was kind of just thinking obviously I was thinking about my cat, but like anyone's pet, really like what their perception of their life is.
Yeah.
So would it be like a slave or living in constant fear?
Well, it depends. I was
just thinking about it.
I would say that the instinct, like if you threw your cat in the middle of a forest or something, that instinct would kick in, or it would be eaten. Okay. That's my guess with that. But I would say also that the ripening of that being to be in a safe environment where it feels loved and nurtured is also a karma from that own being's experience. Obviously a much better karma than being out in the forest being chopped up. Yeah.
But there are some animals, once you return them to nature, they can't live anymore, like turtles.
Exactly.
Like, turtles are cool, but if you take one as a pet and you feed it, it'll go out and it's just always waiting for food.
Yeah.
And it will die. And I wonder what that would be like, even from before, from before they're released, what that state of mind is, what is that perception like? It's not necessarily good,
I was just going to say, like, based on what you're bringing up and like the way I'm thinking about it, do they have any more subdivisions of animals, or is it just these two?
All they have is that there are 360 million species on this planet, and 80,000 of them live on the human body.
What?
On the human body.
That's
On?
right.
On
Oh yeah.
bacteria, insects, etc. Like little critters.
Oh yeah. 80,000.
80,000. I think that's what they said. 80,000 on the human body alone. And then they say that the vast majority, the great mass of the animal kingdom, animal realm, is in the oceans.
Right.
That's all they say about that. So that's those two things. That's it. Sorry, I'm 10 minutes late. Yeah. So let's do a quick offering. calming things for the
Thank
patients.
you. Sorry for the hard time.
Sorry
No,
for the
it's
harder
fine.
time.
No, it's good for me to have to answer these things. It's good for you to have to think about it that way. That's what it's for.
So what does cause karma to multiply?
Huh?
What does cause it to multiply?
Yeah.
Like why? Why is the entire passage of time is like that's being forced upon us, but otherwise nothing would happen.
It's like the expansion of dark matter.
What?
Like how when
No, I think that's really worth
I don't know
spending
that.
time thinking about. And then you think that in tandem with the emptiness of karma.